Andrew Clennell, our political editor, with me. Andrew, 7 rate rises in a row, and unfortunately for mortgage holders, the message from the RBA is that it's pretty clear there are more to come.
And I think that's the big news out of today, Kieran. Obviously, people knew there was a rate rise coming. They wondered if it would be 0.25 or 0.5. It's 0.25. Probably doesn't matter because next month you'll get another 0.25. But they revised up their inflation forecast. And that is just, what, a fortnight even, a week since the budget? It's 1 week since the budget and suddenly it's not 7%, 7.75% that we're looking at as what they say is the peak of inflation. The Government Reserve Bank, suddenly it's in the 8% in the budget. That was a worst case scenario forecast of 8.3%. And Jim Chalmers addressed this. It's one of the first things he addressed in his press conference this afternoon.
The Reserve Bank has changed their forecast for inflation. They now expect inflation to peak around 8% towards the end of the year. This is exactly why inflation is the biggest challenge in our economy. This is exactly why inflation was the primary influence on the budget that I handed down last week. When inflation is high and rising and interest rates are rising with it, it's more important than ever then the budget is responsible and restrained and right for the times.
I did think with inflation the way it is, the Reserve Bank might lift them by 0.5%. Today they did not. Perhaps this is the reason. We showed you this yesterday, retail spending figures out yesterday. Have a look at the state by state there. You'll see in WA and Queensland and the Northern Territory and Tasmania spending rocking along. Some of that is fuelled by inflation, the ACT too. But in the 2 most populous states where people would have the biggest mortgages, you can see the rate rises are having an effect. New South Wales and Victoria, still growth in spending, but it is very much slowing down in those states. Well, Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor got up about half an hour ago and a bit of a different stance from him this time. He was saying Jim Chalmers didn't cut enough in the budget effectively. His first budget, just 5 months into office. He was saying, where's the plan? Where's the path to surplus? Haven't heard that surplus word since the COVID pandemic. But perhaps there is an argument here that within 10 years, there should be a path to surplus in Australia. We are benefiting, continue to benefit from commodity boom times, which saw a windfall of $150 billion over 4 years to the federal budget. Jim Chalmers said, hey, I used all of that to pay off debt, saved all of that, 99% of it, but didn't cut anything else. So this looks like it will be the mantra from the coalition. They'll have to suffer from some criticism that they didn't show a path to surplus either, but this is the new way forward for their rhetoric on this matter.
To be in a position where we've got rising inflation and interest rates and that he hasn't even got a plan to get back to budget balance. He's given up the ghost. I mean, he's put up the white flag here on having a balanced budget.
Now, Andrew, the other big row that's happening right now is on industrial relations and some quite strong rhetoric from one organisation that represents the resources sector in particular, talking about an ad campaign or a public relations campaign stronger than work choices and that from the unions. They're pushing back in a big way, aren't they?
They are, and we still have those questions for the Treasurer around how he's going to deal with gas bills, which the budget say will go up 40%, electricity bills up by 50%. Doesn't seem to have an answer on that one, but says he's talking to the AWU and business about it and will come up with answers.
Obviously, I engage with Dan Walton, the AWU, with the companies, with our international partners, with the states and territories. I think it's important that people put their views on the table as the government goes about working out the best, most responsible solution here. I'm not going to get into the business of kind of a running commentary on options. I've said that our focus is on the regulatory side in the gas market as it relates to the code of conduct and price in particular. There are other proposals being put to us, which is welcome. We've got a big challenge when it comes to inflation in this country, and energy is a big part of it.
Now, someone that you and I spoke about nearly on a daily basis through the pandemic, his contributions as Health Minister, he's appeared on Sky News today, and first response on that controversy around Scott Morrison's ministerial responsibilities.
Yes, Greg Hunt, the former Health Minister, is working with Monash University in the mental health area and a particular institute there. Ashley Gillen had him on today, thought it was a decent time to ask him, were you part of this secret ministries inquiry? My understanding is this will report from the former High Court Judge Virginia Bell around November 25. So with a sitting week or two left, and after the Prime Minister has returned from the G20 and 2 other summits, Kieran, and no doubt the government will then make arrangements so a Prime Minister cannot secretly swear him or herself into ministries again. Greg Hunt was the only one, of course, who found out about it. Matthias Cormann was Finance Minister, Josh Frydenberg Treasurer. They didn't know about Scott Morrison moving into their ministries on the side as well. And he confirms here that he has had contact with Virginia Bell, but it wasn't a face-to-face interview. That's what we're learning about this inquiry out of Greg Hunt's comments today. He was sent some written questions and provided some written responses, it seems.
It was done as a contingency, and the Prime Minister, when he announced the Biosecurity Act, announced that he was the co-holder of those powers.
So no regrets about how all that has played out since that decision was taken?
Always reviewing, but my focus, honestly, has been on how we continue to take the health of Australians forward.
Have you been interviewed by Virginia Bell and her team, and what are you expecting her to find at the end of her inquiry?
I'll leave the responses. We said at the time when we were asked about a month ago that we'd respond, which we did.
The former Health Minister there talking to Ashley Gillen. Andrew Clennell, thank you as always. We'll see you tomorrow.